All right, we'll give 5 more minutes just for others to go ahead and get logged on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another installation of Creating Real Estate Millionaires. I am your host with the most, Mr. Ray, and I'm going to be talking to you today about the 7 deadly sins of real estate. The 7 deadly sins of real estate. Of course, we're always going to be with the ground rules today. You can chat in the chat room. If Whitfield comes on, he can answer them. If not, I'll try to answer them at the end of the session. Of course, I got to start by saying I am fully in support of Black Lives Matter, and I expect everyone that's going to be following me to do the same. If not, text me personally if you got an issue, and we can talk about it. So I want to talk about my Rayism for the day. It begins like this: our lives begin and end the day we become silent about the things that matter. We cannot remain silent. We've got to stand. We've got to protest. We have to do what we can do in order to make a difference in this world. So let us stand united. So our agenda for today, 7 deadly sins of real estate. So I want to quickly review the 7 deadly sins in the Bible. Some of you all know those, some of you all do not. And then I'm going to review in detail the 7 deadly sins of real estate. And then we're going to talk a little bit about any questions that you might have. So in the Bible, there are 7 deadly sins. There's gluttony, there's greed, there's jealousy, there's lust, there's wrath, there's sloth, and there's pride. Any one of these taken singly can destroy you, but all together they can really bring you down. So the Bible makes it very clear that you are to avoid these at all costs. Well, I'm going to translate that over and say there's 7 deadly sins in real estate that you want to avoid these at all costs. So here we go. The 7 deadly sins of real estate are as follows: records, money, love, TTM, the basics, ethics, and respect. So I want to take some time to go through each one of those and make sure you really understand why you should avoid these particular sins when it comes to real estate. The first, number one deadly sin in real estate is failure to keep good records. All right. I see a lot of people that have joint bank accounts and they refuse to separate their bank accounts, their personal from their business. That's a bad deal. You want to make sure that you're keeping your bank accounts and your accounting and your records separate from your personal and your business. That's very, very important. Failure to keep up with monthly expenditures, making sure that you're paying your gas, your electric, your water, you're making sure that you're paying your mortgage is on time. All those bills have to be kept up, and you are responsible as the owner of your business. Failure to keep proper documentation for tax purposes or for whatever. Just failure to keep receipts. You're flying by the seat of your pants. You got no records. You got no accounting. You just out there just doing it. Failure to keep records is a deadly sin. Failure to prepare for tax season. Some people wait for the last minute to prepare for tax season. You should be preparing every day, every week for tax season, right? And then failure to pay your bills in a timely manner. Deadly sin number two, chasing the fast money. Ooh, that used to be me. I used to love to chase that fast money. And when you're chasing fast money, you forget or you neglect to do your due diligence on your property investigations, right? You just see the property, you like it, it's going to make me a lot of money, let's go for it. And you fail to do your due diligence. Failure to run a thorough financial analysis. That's why I beat you guys up really bad about those quizzes and those tests I be giving on how to determine the cash flow. It's very, very important that you understand that your property is making money the day that you buy it. And then chasing the latest, greatest get rich quick schemes. Oh, we're going to make a lot of money over here. All you got to do is don't stick with the basics. Don't chase the fast money. And then just failure to apply what I call the smell test. And the smell test is, if it doesn't smell good, it probably is not good. Well, you heard the old adage, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. Deadly sin number 3, falling in love. Oh, we love to fall in love with the property, don't we? Failure to differentiate between personal and investment property. You're not buying a house to live in, people. You're buying a house as an investment property. So don't fall in love with the property. Looking at the property and not the number. Oh, it's so beautiful, the flowers, the roof, the doors, all that doesn't mean a hill of beans if the numbers don't add up. Fall in love with the numbers. Don't fall in love with the property. And then there's people that always convince themselves that they're going to make the deal work based on how they. I just have a good feeling about this, Mr. Ray. I know it's going to work out. I know the numbers say it's not going to work out, but I have a feeling. Don't trust those feelings. Creating scenarios where you believe the property will somehow make money. If I can reduce the expenses, or if I can do this, or I can. No. Make the property stand on the numbers that you have right there, right? Make it stand on the evidence that you have in front of you. Don't create scenarios on how you're going to make the property look good so that you can buy it. You're falling in love with the wrong thing. Deadly sin number 4, trying to do it all. We'll call it TTM, team too much, right? That is, you're refusing to allow the professionals to do the job, right? I'm going to skip the inspection and I'm going to inspect it myself. I think I can do this accounting on these taxes myself. No, let the professionals do what they do. Hire people to do what they're to do and let them do it. Oh, I think I can do this type of repair even though I've never done it before. Let the professionals do their job. Secondly, experimenting to save money. Well, again, I haven't done this before, but I think if I do it this way, I can save some money. No, don't try to do too much. Just do what you plan to do in your estimate and make it happen. Believing you can perform the work while maintaining your own job. I did that. I tried to do it all. I tried to maintain my day job, then go work on the rental property all day in the evening. Well, you eat up all your time and you're going to cause problems in your marriage if you are married, right? You must choose between your time and what it's worth and the amount of money that you save. Don't try to do too much. Put things out there that are in place that are going to help you to do the best job that you can do. Focuses on your skills, your abilities. Do those things that you can do, but hire out those things that you can't do, simply trying to save some money. Deadly sin number 5, failure to do the basics. Number 1, failure to ensure that the property will have a positive cash flow on day 1. Well, if I buy it today, if I do some things in the future, it'll cash flow. If it doesn't cash flow day 1 when you run the numbers, then it's not a good deal. Failure to properly estimate the rehab repairs, right? I think I can finagle the numbers. I can get this cheap over here. I can do this. Make sure you do always err on the side of 10% more than whatever I estimated, right? Just to make sure that I'm good. Make sure you're doing a proper estimate and don't shortcut. Failure to attract and keep quality tenants. We talked about that last week. It is important that you offer a quality product, that is your house, and that you put a quality tenant in that house so that you can make sure you're getting your rent on time and they're paying you on time. If you didn't see that, you need to go back and review that. Failure to have a reserve fund in case of emergency. This is what kills a lot of investors, because as quick as they're getting the money, they're spending it. They're not putting money away for their reserves. And when something happens, there they are. Coronavirus exposed a lot of people because they didn't have reserve fund in case of an emergency. And then failure to keep the property in good working condition. We talked about that again last week. When we're acquiring good tenants, you got to make sure that you keep that property in good working condition. Deadly sin number 6, failure to run an ethical business. So here we go. Failure to adhere to doing anything, never do anything that's unethical, illegal, or immoral. I hope I don't have to explain that to y'all, but it is what it is on the face. If it's illegal, unethical, or immoral, I need you to stay away from that. And most people know what that is. I don't have to go into detail there. Failure to properly, here we go. Sorry. Failure to follow the letter of the law when it comes to tenants, to city, to taxes, any of that. Make sure you're following the letter of the law. Failure to be honest in all of your business dealings. Always be honest. Don't take shortcuts. Don't leave out things in the fine print. Make sure you're dealing honestly with the banks. You're dealing honestly with your tenants. You're dealing honestly with your contractors. Stretching the letter of the law or justifying an illegal business practice. Right? Well, I think this is the gray area over here, and I think if we stay in the gray area, I'll be all right. No, pretty much most of the laws are black and white, and you need to make sure you adhere to them. All right, now we're coming to our last deadly sin, treating people with respect. Never take advantage of elderly or uninformed individuals. And this is mostly when you're dealing with a seller directly and you're trying to buy their house and they're in a bad situation and they're just wanting to get rid of the property. You can take advantage of people, right? You know more information for the most part than they do. So don't take advantage of people that are elderly or people that are uninformed. Make sure you give them a fair price for their property. You don't want to pay too much, but give them a fair price. Failure to communicate practices, policies, and procedures to your tenants. Your tenants don't know what to expect from you, right? Because you haven't outlined for them how you expect your property to be taken care of, what you do in case the rent is late. All those things should be spelled out so the tenant knows what time they can call you, what times if they can't call you. You should put that up front and treat people with respect. Failure to be candid about the condition of the property. Let's say you're selling the property and you know a few things about the property. Maybe the sewer has been changed out and in the last few years, and you say, that's not something they need to know. Yes, that's material. You need to make sure. If you had a big tree fall on the house, that's something people need to know, right? Make sure you treat people with respect and be honest and candid about the condition of your property. Dishonesty, cheating, stealing, deceitfulness, fraud, none of that should be part of your business, right? You should not have anything to do with dishonesty, any way, shape, or form. Never should be happening. All right, I went through that pretty fast. Now we're going to open it up for anybody that has questions. What are your questions? I know I went through that pretty fast, but let's do your questions. Any questions on any of the information we shared today? Questions, comments?
Mr. A, I've got a question.
Yes.
It's not 100% on the subject you had today, but it's about expenses and calculating your expenses.
Yeah.
I know you typically, the figures you give us, you put in, 10% for vacancy, 10% repairs, so on and so forth. What about your CapEx expenses? How do you typically deal with that? Is that just rolled into the 10% or do you do it separate?
Yeah, for me, I roll it into the 10%. And usually depends upon the age of the property. If I got a real old property, then I know my capex is going to be pretty high. As opposed to if I have a newer property, then I'm not expecting as much capex. But yeah, I'll just roll it into that 10%, David. But sometimes that can blow away your whole deal if you have a heat and air unit go out, or if you have a big repair that you got to do. That's just something. Again, that happens. Again, if you got your reserve there, hopefully, if the reserve doesn't cover it, you got enough money to come back in and get that thing repaired. So it's part of the 10%. Any other questions? Questions on anything, not even this, if you got something else.
Hey, Mr. Ray, this is Tina.
Hey, Tina.
Yeah, I think maybe the eighth sin should be the one I'm dealing with now, and that's procrastination. I think during the pandemic, I was approved to get my first property, and once everything hit, that grace period is over with. So it's kind of like I'm facing with, okay, should I go ahead and do it? I'm still looking at homes, and I'm still like, well, is people going back to work? Are they working from home? Are they going to, come out and, want to look for a new property, things like that. So I think that's one of the, hurdles I'm trying to overcome now. Like, what advice to you would you give me at this point instead of just trying to be too safe? I know that's pretty bad for, investing in real estate, but still.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a personal thing, Tina. You got to work through that. You got to feel comfortable that you feel like you have enough information, that you've done enough preparation, that you've run the numbers, that everything is good. And then at some point you have to pull that trigger. I know it's hard on that first one, but believe me, once you make sure that the numbers are good, and make sure you run those by me. I'll give you another level of comfort, that you can be comfortable that your deal is good. So that's to be expected. Be a little bit fearful, but don't be afraid to take that leap.
I'll send you something over once I find that house that I don't love, but I think is a good property.
Just fall in love with the numbers. You can love the numbers, just don't love the house.
I love the numbers.
There you go. What else?
Mr. Ray, I've got another question on the expenses. How do you typically calculate how much to set aside? Do you go through and kind of estimate how many repairs you're expecting to come up in the next little while, or do you go by just past experience? How do you typically set that number on what your expected expenses are for each property?
Well, I at least have 1 month's rent available. That's the starting part, David. And then if I've got 1 month's rent for every property, that's really going to, cover all of my anything that could happen in a particular month. Again, I got 20 properties. If the average rent is $1,000, that means I've got $20,000. So for me, I'm not really worried that one event is going to kill me. But if I got at least 1 month's rent, again, for 3 months, I'm sorry, maybe I confused you there. So you got to at least have 3 to 6 months for every property, which is 1 month. So if my property is $1,000, then if I want 3 months reserve, I got to have $3,000 set aside for that property. So again, if I do that for all properties, then I got quite a bit of money to set aside. So, but 3 months rent is usually good enough for a reserve as far as I'm concerned. Some people like 6 months. I'm good with 3. All righty, everybody else is good. We only had 6 participants. I guess I got to send this out every Monday for all the other folks. I guess nobody understood that was a reoccurring meeting, but they'll be able to pick this up on YouTube. I'll post it when we're done. All right, going one more time for any more questions or anybody else that's on the line. Questions on anything, not just tonight. Anything that you might have that you wanted to ask. All righty, hearing none. Yeah, I forgot to tell you guys that we are going to have a field trip to one of my properties on Saturday, the one that I'm rehabbing. So we will be having a field trip. I'll be sending that information out. In fact, I'll take that back. I'm going to do it on Thursday because we have Deep Dive Thursday. And so I'm going to actually have Deep Dive Thursday at the property at 7 o'clock. So I'll send that out. And anybody that wants to come out, feel free to come out and see the progress we've made on the property. And I'll be willing to share that. So I will be sending that out so everybody can come by and you get a chance to meet some of the other players. We'll all be social distancing and we'll have masks as needed. So we'll make sure everybody's safe. One last time for questions. All right. Thank everybody for your time. Have a great day. If you can, we will see you on Thursday. Mr. Ray is out.